Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Y'all quit playing. Quit playing. I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert,
30 years of my career.
have you ever had sex
No.
with anyone under the age of 17?
No.
Nigga, please.
Never.
No.
Nigga, please.
I have to tell you, it's so hard to believe that.
Because my heart is so big. People betray me, and I keep forgiving them.
You sound like you're playing the victim here.
They've been sending me different things to cover or content, and I appreciate each of you guys for that. Also, I'm Dr. Reginald Wells. I appreciate you for the videos that you've sent. Of course, my wife, Micah, she sends me things all the time for me to check out. And the latest stories that I have been sent as of lately, a lot of people are sending me stories. If it's not about, I guess, like the R. Kelly trial going on right now, I've been getting some insight and information on that. And as well as the situation with the guy, Brother Polite, for those who know him, I've gotten stories about that. And I typically try to, keep the show on entrepreneurship and management and things. But hey, we're going to go ahead and touch on some of those topics since these are topics that were sent. And there are other stories I've been told about. Of course, we can't but help but recognize the Sha'Carri Richardson, Allison Felix, and her running against Team Jamaica. All of these things have been stories that people have been sending to me or wanting me to comment on or to discuss on. So I figured that I would oblige and do that, even possibly tonight. So let me just double check a few things here. All right, all systems a go, everything looking good. All right, cool. And I'm going to go ahead and share this video, you guys. If you get a chance, make sure you share this video. Make sure you hit like, make sure you interact, make sure you subscribe to the social media pages, because when you do that, it helps me to get the word out. It helps people to know not only about the show, but it also helps with the algorithms and things of that nature. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some of these stories. I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of these stories. So one of the stories I was sent was about the R. Kelly trial. And I'm going to go ahead and find my information on that because I saved some of the stories when you guys send them to me. So there was a situation last week, I believe it was for around Friday. His manager, or ex-manager, road manager, tour manager, whatever, had testified about the case. And here's my take on it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, not one bit, about all of the accusations that are going to come out of this trial. I say that because those who have known me or those who know my background know that many years ago, I worked in the entertainment business. I've worked in music. I've been around a lot of heavy hitters, and, some never made it. Some did very well for themselves. And I've seen some things in this industry. There now, by the grace of God, I've never, involved myself in any of that. I always tried to stay away from all of that. I've always tried to warn new artists or people who want to get in the game, like, to watch your drinks when you go to event spaces or when you're going to sessions or hanging out. Don't just drink, put your drink down and pick it back up and drink it, because you do have those kind of predators and weirdos out there that'll put stuff in your drinks. I've heard stories. I actually was in a club one night years ago when a girl blacked out from somebody putting something in her drink. It was at Club 112 for those back in Cheshire Bridge Road for my old school heads. So I've seen some things in this game. So a lot of the stories that are coming out in this trial right now, I can't say that I'm surprised, particularly as it pertains to that individual. And here's the news flash that's probably going to make some of you uncomfortable. He's not the only one. There are several others. We've seen, of course, the Harvey Weinstein, people went on about the Bill Cosby, all these things. But as it pertains to, the entertainment business or music in general or the R. Kelly situation, there have been allegations of his involvement with children before. When the manager testified about Aaliyah, I was probably high school, I think, when the story broke news that they had been married, and then people said, oh, it was a hoax, and then it was like, oh, their marriage was annulled and all these things. I can't say that I'm surprised at that, because when you're working in entertainment, you get to go to like studio sessions, and sometimes you'll be there 3, 4, 5 in the morning. You might be there. I remember being in studio sessions till the sun came up the next day. We're leaving at like 10 o'clock like the next morning, and people fall asleep on the studio couches. They fall asleep in the lounge area. Sometimes people can't write songs the way they normally would, so they need that little bump, that little, help. So they might go roll a L or smoke a joint, or they might, pop a pill or whatever it takes. And before you know it, that person will end up, in a compromised position sometimes. I remember being in one particular studio. It was a major studio out in Atlanta. And I remember there was a young lady that was in a compromised position, and people were talking about it for ages to come. So when you hear the stories of this R. Kelly case, you don't be surprised at what you hear, you guys. The fact that he had a manager that was willing to pay a social worker to get her a fake ID, a makeup artist to make her look older, so that he can marry her to cover up what he thought was a pregnancy, is no surprise, man. No surprise whatsoever. Because a lot of these guys that are in these positions and they get, their notoriety and they become sexually deviant, meaning that they overindulge in everything. I remember there was a session one time, and I got a friend who actually was with me that could actually testify to this. There was a session one time we were in, and this guy was like, after you've had all the beautiful, because we were young guys, you know what I mean? I'm like, from 14 to 23, I'm rapping and going to these sessions in these studios, and there's grown men in there, older men, older women, all kind of stuff going on. And I remember me and a friend were in a session one time, and we were talking about this one particular big name individual and his involvement with like guys and girls and just different things. And the engineer, like literally the producer and the engineer is in the room, and the guy stops. He's like, man, let me explain something to y'all young cats. When you get to the level that we're at and the level that he's at, you've had all the beautiful women you want, and after a while, you want to try things different. And I knew then that this might be more than what I had wanted to get into. I had people talking about, hey, you want to sell your soul, all that crazy stuff. So yes, this is something that really does go on. There are situations like the artist, I think Danny Boy just came out, who used to be over there, with Death Row, and he said Mary J. allegedly was messing with him when he was 15. He said there was guys and girls, now he's bi, messing with him. This really goes on, and this is why you have to protect your children. You have to be careful about what you allow to get in your spirit, what you're listening to. When you hear some of the songs that R. Kelly wrote for Aaliyah, age ain't nothing but a number, love ain't nothing but a thing, these are red flags. When he's making songs like Seems Like You're Ready, and then he keeps getting caught up with these young girls, these were red flags. And I hate that, so many were involved, because there are handlers and behind the scenes people that know some of these people have these issues and hangups, and they say nothing. They do nothing about it. That's just the reality. And I want to say this, because I keep saying he's not the only one, and some may be offended at the fact that I'm even bringing it out. If you're upset with him, but you're okay with Elvis, you know what I mean? Or was it Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire? They like young girls too. This is something that is a problem that needs to be addressed. We need to address, pedophilia and how these people are targeting our children, because it's wrong. It's wrong. On every level, it's wrong. And kind of pivoting off the R. Kelly case onto the Brother Polite case, he recently was arrested for, I guess, the assault, sexual abuse, etc. It was 3 major charges, 2 felonies, 1 misdemeanor, of a 14-year-old girl. I can't say I'm surprised there either, because, being a follower of Dr. Malachi York, as he was called, who was arrested and charged for messing with young people as well, and leading the Nubian cult, Polite would say that York was his spiritual dad, his father, his God, his deity. I've got video backing this up. He said all these things about this man who was accused of messing with children and messing with other people. And then later on, the fruit didn't fall far from the tree. Polite was very blasphemous. He spoke against Jesus Christ. And if they don't have a standard of God, typically, I don't expect them to hold much of a standard. So when he went all anti-God, anti-Jesus, and calling himself blasting the church and cussing people out and your God can't do this, that, and the third, pride, you know what I mean? When they get caught up in that pride and that arrogancy, you better believe a fall is coming. And I'm not surprised that this happened. I've heard of another child before this. I believe it was Sinetta had made reference to that. So it's not like this is something new. A lot of times when people hate God or they hate, morality, and they get into all this stuff where he's talking about polygamy and the black woman is God and the womb and all the beautiful women I can have. They allow the enemy to get into their heart and they do some heinous acts, some horrible things. And I did see the rebuttal video he gave as I think it was a lady named Tasha K that actually released the story and broke the news and shared, his government name. Kudos to her for exposing it and being willing to. I knew he was a fraud years ago when he came out and he was telling people he wrote, first it went from 3 books to 5 books to over 90 books to 100 books. All you got to do is go to the Library of Congress and look up his government. And there's not a single book copywritten under his name. Look up his pseudonym, his Brother Polite name. There's not a book copywritten under his name. And I've published a book. I know it takes work to publish a book. So to go from like 3 to 5 to like over 81 to 100 and speak in multiple languages, it was a con. It was all a con. And, all glory to God that it's being exposed, to be honest, because people need to know the truth. And this also should be a lesson to you young women out there. Be careful who you have around your children. To my understanding, the 14-year-old girl that accused him, that he is allegedly said to have sexually abused, he was dating her mother. And he asked the mother if he could take this girl to the club and then took her to a hotel because the club allegedly was closed. So, guys, when you're out there and you're getting involved with women and you're having children, you got to think about it. If you decide you don't want to marry her, you want to move on, she might get a new boyfriend, a new beau, and they might like your kid. You got to be careful and protect your children, particularly in today's times, because you have some people that just aren't right. They're not right. They have issues. And my heart goes out to all of the victims out there that have gone through what they've gone through. I feel like come forward. I don't care who it is, no matter how big, how popular, whatever the platform. One of the things that was allegedly said was Polite was telling the mother, don't call the police because it'll ruin me. We're past that. You ruined yourself when you mess with a child, allegedly. So I'm glad that the mother did call the police. Kudos to the Miami police for actually doing something about it. I don't want to just keep talking about it, but I'll go ahead and read a little bit of the article so that it won't just be hearsay. But this was actually taken from NBC Miami. And it says, a motivational speaker arrested in February for assault of teen in Miami Beach. The alleged victim is the daughter of a woman Michael Noack, 37, was romantically linked to, according to police. And it basically says that Michael Noack Jr., also known as Brother Polite, surrendered to police Monday for alleged sexual battery of a 14-year-old girl in a hotel room back in February. His attorney claims that once evidence is produced, he's going to be exonerated. So yeah, not guilty, nothing else. But according to the police report, Noack, who is a motivational speaker, author who lives in Los Angeles, asked the woman if he could take her daughter to an after party at a club in Miami. That's a red flag. Mothers, when this man is supposed to be into you, but he wants to take your 14-year-old daughter to a club, that should be a red flag. It says the report states that Noack took the teen to his hotel after seeing that the club was closed. The report says the suspect gave the teen alcohol and started dancing and touching the teen inappropriately, groping, and it talks about the various body parts of her anatomy that he groped. It goes on to say that Noack tried to force the teen to perform sexual acts for him, and the teen allegedly passed out and woke up to him trying to make her throw up. This is sickening. I don't even want to read the rest of the report. It's sickening. I have 2 daughters. I have 4 sons, and I would be livid and through the roof if I had a baby mama situation and some guy comes along and wants to take my daughter to a club. That's crazy that a mother would allow that to happen. I really think that mothers, you got to be careful and protect your children better than that. Not to blame the mother or the victim, because what he did is wrong and it's on his own head. But it's a very, very sick situation. And I hope that if this is true and this really happened, that he would be held to the fullest extent of the law for messing with that 14-year-old girl. He is not the only one. There are a lot of these guru. When you have all these like hotel hustlers coming, these so-called spiritual guru leaders come up with this madness, y'all got to vet these people. Why are they taking an interest in children? I remember a while back there was a I believe it was a pastor that had went to pick up somebody's son at like 11 o'clock at night, and he's supposed to be mentoring him, and took the boy to his house. There is no reason for any adult to be picking up your child at 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night by themselves, taking them as a mentor, whatever the case may be. This is unacceptable. It's really unacceptable. So I implore you, mothers, I urge you, watch your children. All these men that you think you have an interest in, they act like they like you. Some of them don't like you. They like your children. And you need to pray and ask God for guidance. You need to protect your children, raise them, and don't let them around them, because you don't know what these men are into, you know, and they're not their biological father. And I know there's some dads out there that say, well, you know, Micah, I'm not a biological dad. I ain't never been like that. No, that's fine. What I'm saying to these single women with children out here, be careful who you bring to your home. Be careful who you introduce to your children while you call yourself dating, because situations like this can happen more than a little bit. Okay? It's not uncommon from what I'm hearing, even in a lot of cases of children being murdered. If you look it up, me and Sister Mika were doing the research. There were so many children dying because the mama's boyfriend had a problem with the child or was abusing the child. And the mama right there while the boyfriend kills her child. And they weren't even biological fathers. So I want to implore you to really watch your children. Be careful. Because this is really going on. These things are happening. All right, so we've talked about a couple of stories. We talked about the R. Kelly thing, which is horrible. We talked about the Brother Polite thing, which is horrible. If you don't know who he is, don't worry. You ain't missing much or nothing. Hopefully the trial will be over quickly. Let's pivot on to some other stories.